Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joan Hoey. I'm the Director for Europe at the Economist Intelligence Unit in London. I'm your conference chair for the whole day. The Economist is delighted to be back in Skopje for this very important Western Balkans summit. This is the second one to be held in North Macedonia, and we really hope that it will become an institution, a place where we can continue to bring together regional leaders and business people with representatives of the EU, the US, the UK and other countries to discuss recent developments and future prospects. I'd like to thank all our sponsors and supporters and the government of North Macedonia for helping us to put this event together. A lot has happened in the region and the world since our first summit in Skopje in 2019, not least the COVID-19 pandemic, whose impact continues to be felt here and globally. The external environment has become more difficult in those 2 years. The pandemic has acted as an accelerant, intensifying divisions and rivalries that were already there, not least between the US and China, but also within the Western camp, between the US and the EU, and within the EU itself. We'll be discussing all these external trends and what they mean for the Western Balkan region. Much has happened within the region as well in the past 2 years. We've had parliamentary elections in Albania, in Kosovo, in Montenegro, in North Macedonia, and in Serbia. In Albania and North Macedonia, and in Serbia, the incumbents won. In Kosovo and Montenegro, they lost. There's been a worrying deterioration in bilateral relations, in particular between Montenegro and Serbia, between Serbia and Kosovo, between Bulgaria and North Macedonia, and in Bosnia and Herzegovina, between the two entities, the Federation and Republika Srpska. Unresolved status and other legacy and historical issues continue to limit the scope of regional cooperation. Not helping matters is the failure of the EU to set out a clear accession path for the countries of the Western Balkan region. Last week's summit failed to provide clarity, and Slovenia's proposal for a 2030 deadline was shot down. Too many of us in this room have been talking about enlargement for too long. It will soon be 20 years since the Thessaloniki Declaration, and patience in the region is wearing thin. The irony is that the EU seems incapable of making a collective strategic decision to incorporate the Western Balkans at the same time as it says its goal is the pursuit of strategic autonomy. That means the EU projecting power in the world and acting independently of the two superpowers, the US and China. But if the EU cannot project power and demonstrate leadership in its own backyard, how does it think it will be able to do that in the Indo-Pacific or elsewhere? EU policy on the Western Balkans is a great evasion. In evading making a strategic choice about the Western Balkans because the bloc is deeply divided on the issue, because of a failure of national leaders to have out a difficult argument with their electorates, the EU is in danger of surrendering authority and influence. The accession process has been continually revised and reinvented to make it more difficult to join. Chapters never seem to get closed, and for some, of course, the formal process has not even begun, despite all the conditions having been met. Of course, the accession countries could do more. Nobody is suggesting they are saints. But if it's all going to be pain and no gain, because there's no prospect of membership in a realistic time frame, should we be surprised if reforms are not happening and backsliding occurs? The end result of this is that the EU is creating a sort of cultural apartheid within Europe. The question is, what is to be done? What is to be done by the Western Balkan countries themselves and by the advocates of enlargement within the EU and the US. Over the course of today, we'll try to come up with some realistic, concrete answers rather than surrender to pessimism and the pervasive doom and gloom. To start the discussion today, it's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage the Prime Minister of North Macedonia, Zoran Zaev. Welcome, Prime Minister.